Still waiting for Spyro 4? Yeah, me too. And while Toys for Bob takes its time, I went back to the PS1's perfect playground, Spyro 2. It came second in my last poll, so that's my excuse to master it with Retro Achievements and its exclusive challenges. The perfect antidote to life's stresses. It's time to party like it's 1999 with Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. Or Gateway to Glimmer if you're in Europe, because even dragons need a sparkly entrance.
I shouldn't have messed with Spyro. I'm so
Spyro 2 has 493 points across 54 achievements, 2 of which are missable. But don't worry, only if you beat Ripto before 100%ing the game.
Now that's my idea of fun.
Sheep and rain everywhere. It's giving Wales just without the good bits like castles or chips and gravy. Spyro is fed up with the artisan's weather, so decides to head to Dragon Shores for a vacation. Unfortunately for Spyro and Sparks, the portal takes them to Avalar. Elora, Hunter, and the Professor need a dragon.
A dragon is our only chance of stopping Ripto.
A pint-sized dino with anger management issues and a collar big enough to throw shapes on.
Take this magic guide to Avalar. I'll meet you in Summer Forest, okay?
Hey, wait a minute!
Like a convict consigned to free labor, we're just expected to save the entire realm for nothing. At best, I'll walk away with a Temu voucher for 20% off a novelty mug. Our introductory stage is Glimmer, and straight off the bat we learn that enemies no longer drop gems, but instead add to a kill count to unlock level-specific abilities. Whiskers tells us we can't climb the ladder yet, highlighting that backtracking is common in Spyro 2. We learn a handful of abilities later, though thankfully backtracking in Spyro 2 is less Destiny and more I forgot to turn the lounge light off on the way to Tesco. We're introduced to Moneybags, a capitalist and opportunist who's basically there to fleece us of our gems in a way only seen recently by the rise in UK energy prices. We have no choice but to pay him 100 gems to open the bridge. Thankfully, we are rewarded with our first achievement, Pay to Play, and we can continue on. We reach the exit for our first talisman. These are needed in order to progress to the first 2 world's bosses. Spyro 2 has a colourful cast and a bunch of mini-games handily rated by difficulty from 1 to 5. Our first of these is to hit lizards with rocks, which is easy and fun. Okay, I promise, no more violence this time. This mission gives us our first orb, and the second is collected after destroying enough enemies to activate the Superfly power-up. We take flight to light the lamps and score Orb 2. Orbs aren't just shiny trophies, they're powerful collectibles that can open sealed doors and give Spyro the firepower he needs when it's time to stand up to Avalar's bosses. We've done all we can here, so it's time to head to Summer Forest. Ripto has taken control.
Spyro's going to help us collect the talismans.
I am?
Yes.
The level hubs in Spyro 2 have some of the best meditation music I've heard. Cozy, calm, and effortlessly serene. We can't dive yet, but waste no time grabbing the rest of the local valuables. Hunter teaches us to jump and hover for our next orb, and we can't afford to learn to swim yet, so instead we head to Idle Springs. The strong colours here are a real feast for the eyes, and our job is to put down the idols who've inconveniently come to life. Fortunately, this is Spyro, 1 puff of flame breath, and they're back to being garden ornaments. We push on through the stage, scooping up gems and clearing out idols along the way. Our next talisman comes courtesy of Foreman Max, and a quick detour around the cliffs reveals a hidden area. Here we can also light a rocket to crack open the reinforced gem container below. Before tackling the rest of the tasks, I ducked back to Summer Forest to unlock swimming lessons. And with that skill unlocked, we can finally 100% Idle Springs. We waste no time putting our new skill to work, smashing open green bottles and hoarding the shiny spoils inside. A hidden tunnel leads us to Foreman Bud, who presents our next orb challenge, a lights out style puzzle that looks more intimidating than it is. Just bop each cornerstone like this and it's done. Next up, an idol with a fish craving. Even with my questionable timing, it's easy enough to keep him happy. With his belly full, we move on to the last trial where we match colour, shape or symbol to activate the floor tiles in sequence. Orb secured, we snag a few hidden gems tucked behind the talisman area before heading off to the final challenge. We have to rescue Hula Girl Stella using the supercharge gate, but before we do, there's our first of 16 skill points to take care of. The requirements are strict. Use the supercharge gate and rock ramp to land squarely on the giant idol's head. Eventually, we land a perfect swoop and hear that glorious sound. Skill point secured. All that's left is a burst of supercharged carnage to free the girls. With the final orb in hand, 100% Idle Springs is complete. Back in Summer Forest, while rounding up gems, we see Moneybags again, quick to perform daylight robbery on us. At least we get Mr. Moneybags tear down this wall for our payment. We use the windowsill to glide around the locked door and pick up another orb for doing so. The last orb is up a ladder, so we can't get it yet, and so instead we head to Colossus. The poor monks have been terrorized by a yeti, so we free them one by one as they reopen the temple. Along the way, we deal with goats and yaks, both easily roasted, and follow the path through. We score You're Basically Immortal now as we keep heading through the level until we're finally face to face with the so-called ferocious beast himself. He immediately stomps the ground, creates vibrations, and flattens himself. It's incompetence on a scale usually reserved for people microwaving tinfoil. This nets us the stage's talisman, and out back we've got our next challenge along with a skill point. First up is the warm-up round, score 5 golds in a minute and a half for the achievement. It's pretty straightforward, except Spyro sometimes ignores the hockey puck like a Burke. Aim for the goal on a slight angle and repeat until done. With more than 30 seconds left on the clock, Ice Hockey Match time attack unlocks and another orb is secured. Stage 2 is a proper 2-on-2 match, and this one can be tougher. The best tactic is to ignore the puck and go straight for the opposition. Take them out first, then worry about scoring. My first attempt collapsed almost instantly, so if that happens, just throw Spyro off the nearest cliff. The goalie is quicker here as well, so make sure you shoot with enough angle. When the score finally hits 5-0, we unlock one of the set's harder achievements with Best Ice Hockey Match, plus a second orb and a skill point. Nice! We can see the rocket for this stage off to the left, so we use the spring jump, then drop down near the professor to light it. Our final challenge is to find and flame all 10 statues to ward off the evil spirit. The first 2 are immediately outside. From here, we can jump and glide across the top, past the Yeti chamber for the 3rd, then drop down for the 4th. Jumping across, the 5th is in plain sight, 6 is a stone's throw away, 7 and 8 are just around the corner, the 9th is on the way to the ice hockey match, and after a lot of searching, the 10th is inside on the ground floor in the room opposite the whirlwind. With that, 100% Colossus is ours. Straight on into Hurricos, which is a personal favourite of mine because of the way it's a multi-layered stage with pathways initially out of reach. Zap advises us to use diodes to deactivate the force field. Somewhere! It's behind him, sparkling. Any closer and he'd be chewing broken glass. At least the fetch quest is over before it began. Hurricos is punctuated with robots to charge and these guys, which I'm gonna call massive spanners for obvious reasons. Keep an eye out for these little windmills as there's a skill point tied to destroying all of them. They're all hiding in plain sight, thankfully. Our initial orb challenge is to stop the pesky gear grinders stealing the lightning stones. This boils down to gobbling them up and spitting them out. From time to time, the gear grinders will appear to screw things up, but it's nothing a little casual violence can't deal with. The last one dealt with and a few lightning stones replaced, we score another well-earned orb. A few more well-placed kills later and we find Brainy, who hands over another talisman, though we're not done yet. With the supercharge gate now active, we use it to destroy the larger windmills and activate the buttons that slow the propellers above. A couple of these are only accessible by darting through the tunnel mid-charge. Up the steps we find Cosmo, who challenges us to reach the factory via the spinning propeller blades. The first one's easy enough to land, and we head across the moving walls to reach the start of the second section, which is a little trickier. Watt gives us another orb, and now we've got to jump, glide, and hover across the narrow high path to keep going. Once we successfully cross the top section, we hit the final windmill for a skill point and to make a few perilous hops that were slightly too close for comfort. I was one mistimed hover away from becoming a modern rug on someone's living room floor. With the last gems collected, we smash the final button and unlock 100% Hurricos as Spike chucks us one last orb for the road. Sunny Beach is up next, and it's time to wrangle some baby turtles like the overqualified reptile nanny we never applied to be. But before we get stuck in, can we just appreciate the starfish? It's got the cutest little smile on its face, like it's just happy to be included. And then it does this ridiculous little backflip like it's showing off for no reason. I love it! So cute! Anyway, we follow the baby turtles through the tube, clearing a a path and avoiding whatever horrific outcome occurs if they get left behind. The enemies in rubber rings take 2 hits to down. Also keep an eye on the wooden boxes dotted around. We'll be back for those once we power up the gate later on. A little fire encourages the big turtles onto the floor switches for us. There's a gate we need to activate before we can start the side quests, so we keep going, killing everything in our path. It's another level we'll have to return to later when we can climb. Eventually we unlock the final door for the talisman, then head back to the now activated gate. It's our job to use our charged up flame breath to rescue the boxed turtles. The first few are nearby. Be sure to break the reinforced crate too. A quick recharge later and we smash crate 5. The 6th is right back at the start, and the last is in the pool of water in the final area. This grants us another orb and we exit, as that's all we can do for now. Aquaria Towers is another cleverly designed stage, and we have to basically flood the place as Ripple informs us the water has been drained. So it's up to us to slam into the big red buttons to restore harmony. Make a note of the shark infested pool. We'll be back here soon, but for now we keep flooding the place and swimming through. Oh, why are all the butterfly holding enemies so adorable? Thankfully we're at full health, so this one can live. As we head back underwater into a cavern, we're greeted by Moneybags again, and we net Subtax, appropriately named given we avoid Spyro becoming shark food. We hit the final button, finishing the flood, but it's really just the beginning here, as now we can nab the talisman from Hoppo and head up, and outside. There's a skill point for destroying all the seaweed here, and the majority is outside. We're tasked with getting to the top of the numbered towers to rescue King Flippy's children, and this is a good excuse to mop up the rest of the stage's secrets. After grabbing some gems, we head back to the power-up gate to swim outside, clearing up the seaweed. Be aware some of the gems are higher up, and this is true of the towers inside too, if you're missing any at the end. We rescue the first couple of baby seahorses while getting electrocuted, of course. Goodbye, sheep. It's been adorable. Hunter asks us to tame a manta ray, so we spend a little time navigating bubble rings for an orb, unlocking the harder course, though a few goes and it's bested in minutes. Second orb hours, we head back inside for the remaining towers. We can also use the power-up gate to deal with the sharks and seaweed, even if I somehow missed the glaringly obvious at first like a total unit. We deal with the remainder the same way, and after navigating the final tower we score our final orb. I spent an unhealthy length of time hunting down the last couple of gems, resting just up here for 100% Aquaria Towers. Onto our first flight of the game, and in Spyro 2 we have a skill point for under 1 minute 10 plus a hidden orb challenge. After a shoddy first attempt, I dive bombed Spyro into the drink and snatched a few gems before this perfect run. It starts off simple with a bunch of rings. I love a good ring. Then across the track to the arches. Pick off any races you can, but don't go out of your way for them yet. The path of the arches is pretty straightforward, through the island, and leads us back on ourselves to the boats where the trial will be decided. The best tactic is to fly in the opposite direction to destroy them quickly, then mop up the last few before a big swoop up and over the stadium. Again, run against the flow of traffic, and not long later we score Raceway for our skill and speed. Next, head back in for the orb challenge with Queen Finny. This challenge might take you a few goes, as some of the turns are pretty tight, but thankfully we only have 20 rings to enter. There's a blind swoop into the cave, but keep following Hunter as the guide. This swoop down to the left is also a pain, and for some reason the route through the remaining rings is about as optimal as a life jacket made of bricks. That done, and 100% Ocean Speedway is in the bag. Elora gleefully tells us we can enter Crush's dungeon. She'll help by tossing sheep through the hole. Cheers, love. Don't worry, we'll handle the heavy lifting. Crush is pretty straightforward and predictable, so it's just a case of avoiding his attacks and attacking him before he reaches another pad. Jump the lasers and toast him, and he'll hit the ground and damage himself with rocks. After a couple of hits, his power-ups turn yellow, and these need avoiding by charging out of the way. It's best to charge at an angle to end up near him for another flame attack. Towards the end of the fight, he requires 2 hits at a time. He will chase us, but just charge out of the way. The final hit nets us bested Crush for another skill point and damageless win, along with 100% Crush's dungeon for winning.
So long, dragon.
What a wuss.
Ripto takes over Autumn Plains, and once again it's up to us to put things straight. As we round up more gems to fill out our hoard, Moneybags rinses us 4 times here, but I'll let it slide given we get achievements for this daylight robbery. We pay 400 gems for Drafted, activating the Zephyr warp gate, 500 gems for Still in a Dream Snake Eater for learning to climb, 400 gems for Bridge to Castle, and after a long leap, Portal Speedway is ours for 100 gems this time. Bargain! If you get stuck up trying to find the last collectibles in Autumn Plains, then head back up the stairs from Elora to destroy this cracked wall for a whirlwind bringing us to the top of the castle. Christ, last time I was this high up was seeing Lady Gaga in Liverpool and my legs nearly gave way at that height. See this tiny platform way below in the distance? That's our target. Made it! And a healthy reward is ours. There's a few gems and a cheeky orb behind this wall, so naturally destruction of a grade 1 listed building it is then. It took me a fair while to realise the last couple of gems were tucked away by the gate to Shady Oasis. 100% Autumn Plains ours, and like the slightly OCD little weirdo I am, I decided that my pathological need was backtracking to clear up before continuing. So back to Summer Forest it was. We can now climb the ladder to snatch the final orb and some gems, and missing one more gem here somewhere. In the Reignited trilogy we could use sparks to point us the right way, but being the original in true PS1 style, I spent a wonderful half hour combing every nook and cranny, slowly but surely turning even more loco until I finally discovered it here, in the water, in plain sight. A well-earned 100% Summer Forest finally ours, and we make a beeline for Glimmer to clear up. I climbed the ladder and grabbed the last few gems, but needed a few more kills to activate the gate. So a little violence later, and Rue invites us to light the gem lamps in the cave. We gladly oblige for the final orb, and 100% Glimmer is ours, with this colourful display our reward. Our next destination is Sunny Beach. We can nip up this ladder for a few gems, and at the stage's end we find Moppet, who wants us to save the children from being cooked. MasterChef, no, not the BBC one, gives us the honour of preventing a mass toddler barbecue. All we have to do is flame or smack them into the water and they'll survive. Bruised, damp, but technically alive. Shiny orb in hand, and it's time for round 2.
Difficulty 5.
A few charges and flames later, and we save the remainder for the last orb, and 100%. Oh, no, it's not. It's time for a 10-minute hunt for the last gem. Thankfully, this time it's not far away, hiding on the other side of the previous ladder. 100% Sunny Beach unlocked. With the cleanup done, it's back to Autumn Plains, and we're starting with Crystal Glacier. It's time for us to fight back against the Ice Queens. No, not those. Widgie. Yes, I'm a child. This rather unfortunately named ice builder needs us to thaw his frozen co-workers so they're not late for the hockey match. Iggy and his mates help Spyro into the next area, and it isn't long before Moneybags extorts us for 200 gems to cross the bridge. Thankfully, it's barely a dent in our hoard, and Snake Bridge unlocks for our troubles. Honourable mention to the cutest snowball on legs I've ever seen. And a few roasted enemies later, the flying power-up activates, letting us wipe out the local Draclet population. Once the area's cleared, we snag our first orb of the glacier. Our next orb comes from reuniting Tok with his pet snow leopard, quite possibly the most adorable creature in Avalar. We follow him to the top of the skull where he hops back down, and a few roasted fish later he's putty in our claws. Nothing says trust like handing over food you personally set on fire. Returning to Tok nets us our second orb. Moments later, our new friends push an ice boulder, granting access to the talisman and the exit. This time I missed a single jar, and its destruction unlocked 100% Crystal Glacier. We head to Skelos Badlands post-haste, where not one but 2 skill points await. We climb the giant bones to reach Lumpy, which I can only assume his parents came up for as a joke that went too far. We have to quickly destroy the hatching lava lizards before they eat the cavemen. The first round is pretty easy, giving us a shiny orb. Like so many of Spyro 2's minigames, this one has a round 2 and finally a minigame that deserves its difficulty 5. Here's my perfect run, which took more goes than I care to admit. After the first 3, head left to roast the next 3, then jump across the ravine to kill the last 2 and earn another orb. Phew! The Badlands continue business as usual, which means it's the perfect time to mention that one of the skill points here requires flaming every cactus in sight. We're also gathering bones for another challenge while we're at it. A well-aimed volcanic rock nets us another, and whatever you do, don't try walking on molten lava without the gate power-up like I did here. The audacity! In the next area, we rack up enough kills to unlock the shield power-up. Mightily helpful here, unless you've ever wondered what Spyro smells like medium rare. We finally meet Uga, who wants his bones back from the lava toads. We also spot a new kind of jar. Each time it's destroyed, it teleports somewhere else, usually closer to the start of the stage, just to waste your time more efficiently. On final destruction, it finally coughs up its spoils. Our next skill point comes from destroying all 4 of these cat bats, which a few well-placed shots take care of nicely. We head back for another bone before climbing the molten steps into the cavern for more bones. We climb more giant vertebrae for another bone and a stash of gems, then after grabbing the last gems from the aforementioned jar, we shoot the final lava toad sky high. With the final orb in hand, we're treated to this little dance before collecting the talisman and unlocking 100% Skelos Badlands. It's time now for us to enter Zephyr. Punctuated by turrets and bomber birds, it's basically Call of Duty meets Sesame Street if Big Bird had a kill streak. This is another stage with destructible walls, so be aware there's a wall opposite here, glaringly obvious, screen-filling target too. It's Little Bo Peep, and he's lost his Cowlex. The first 3 are in the same area, and after climbing this ladder, we find the last couple. We have to use the flame power up here to give them a little extra incentive. After taking out the birds and the crate, we herd the last 2 into the pen for our first orb. It doesn't end there though. 2 more Cowlex have apparently decided to wander off into the void, and being Spyro 2, that's our problem now. On the way, we spot Romeo and Juliet, but first, Cowlex. The first one isn't far. A few gentle nudges up the steps and over the gap later, and he's back in the pen. The last guy's taken a full-on pilgrimage to the professor's side of the map, but after retracing our steps and a few more tender shoves, he's safely home and we earn our second orb. Back over at the professor, it's time for magic seeds. There are plenty of planting spots around, and we work our way through the stage, starting with the corner since there's an extra seed there. Eventually, we grab a 3rd seed to reach the first major platform and keep climbing. The professor then magically appears high above and gives us a couple more. We finally reach Juliet.
Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Thanks for the orb, love. I do hope she hasn't got COVID. I still had a few missed bits to clear up, so I destroyed this wall near the start for some gems before finding the second I'd overlooked. That lets us continue for more gems and the talisman, but of course I'd missed one somewhere. Thankfully, it wasn't too far away this time, finally netting us 100% Zephyr. At last, sweet pathological closure. I had no hand in this one. Metro Speedway is our second flight stage, and we have 1 minute 15 to do the lot. This open section has 3 remaining birds and all 8 bungee men. Try to do it as cleanly as possible, though there is a little leeway if you miss a couple and need to loop back. Head a little to the left, then bear right to start charging for the gates, then jump to flame the sign-holding enemies before making a quick 360 to fly through the remaining gates for the next skill point and Metroway. I accidentally forgot the orb here, so I've shuffled the footage slightly so you can see the orb challenge tucked away behind this waterfall. For this one, we're helping the mayor catch stolen loot after Hunter zaps the thieves. It's rated difficulty 5, but it's really not that bad. Just swoop for the loot as Hunter takes yet another questionable route through the stage. Moments later, 100% Metro Speedway is ours. Breeze Harbor is pretty straightforward and has a bunch of cheeky land blubbers extinguishing fires. It's our job to light the fires again so the breeze builders can counter-attack with their airship. Along the way, we have to deal with these spiked mines scattered throughout the area. Lighting the fire lets us access the other half of the stage, and eventually we reach the ship where we have to chase down this pest of a land blubber who keeps putting our fires out again. With the flames finally lit, we grab the talisman and circle back for what we've missed. This minigame is more annoying than a bagpipe solo at a funeral. Honestly, it's just bad. We can shift tracks left and right and have 50 gears to collect for Fisher's machinery. Next time I'm demanding payment for this crap. A good 10 minutes of navigating the same stupid course later, and finally we collect all 50 in one go for an orb. I also missed the 8th mine, so with that destroyed, another orb is ours. This time the gems I missed were right at the start, sneakily tucked behind this pipe. 100% Breeze Harbor is finally ours, though I think I might actually have PTSD from that gear minigame. Oh well, on we go. Warning, the following scene is not suitable for children. As we enter Scorch, remain calm. Deep breaths. No, Insomniac. think of the children. God only knows what psycho cooked up these character models, but we have to reluctantly help Greta and Handel to blow up the castle. Frankly, I'd rather blow up them, but there we go. If they follow me home, I'm calling the police. Scorch has another skill point. We have to knock a coconut from the trees that have them. We also have this minigame where Hunter wants us to knock monkeys from trees, but it's an easy task for another orb. Each section has a big red button to raise a flag and open the entrance to the next. Thankfully, there's a bunch of gems just lying around. I briefly forgot the children existed until I turned around and saw the eyes again. When we reach the end, we grab another talisman and Handel tasks us with getting their flags back, so naturally we oblige and power up ready to take them back. We deftly dodge projectiles like a pro, and 3 flags later, 100% Scorch is finally ours. Time to split before the children notice. Jesus Christ! Fracture Hills looks beautiful, bathed in the deep blue nighttime sky. Lila tells us the Earthshapers have encased the temple in stone. So it's our job to release the petrified satyrs, who then use their bagpipe songs to free the temple bit by bit. There's also a skill point here which we'll discover shortly. We flame the trees on our way round, releasing each of the satyrs as we go. Soon after, we're tasked with helping Spinner, whose friend has locked themselves in a room. We're still a couple of kills short of charging the gate, so we butt a few more into the lava. Returning to the supercharge gate, we break the door, unveiling a new area where an alchemist needs escorting. You guessed it, another mission with more twists and turns than Crash Bandicoot on a sugar high. Eventually, we make it to Hunter, who's promptly freed. We snatch another orb, but can't do the second mission yet since we need an upgrade, so instead it's back to plan A, the supercharge. Almost had it there, but after a quick do-over, we rescue Krista from the embarrassment of a locksmith call-out for our second orb. For the skill point, we have to do 3 laps while continuously charging. We can't 100% the stage yet, so we round up what we can for now, including this crate that's a surprisingly healthy challenge to destroy, and head to the temple for the talisman and a few more gems before exiting the stage and heading to Shady Oasis. It's another stage we can't 100% on the first visit, so for now we're just clearing out what we can. Shorty asks us to knock down a magic berry for him, which is all good and fine, but I can't help wondering why we can't just do it ourselves. Still, maybe we should just be grateful we're finally getting some help. We grab the talisman before Bruno ropes us into recovering their stolen lamps. The 3 chases play out just like the egg thieves in Spyro 1, and honestly, it's a charming little diversion while it lasts. An orb is the customary payment, and we're done here, at least for now. Icy Speedway is our next flight stage with a 1:15 target for the skill point and achievement. The first bit's a little hairy, a clockwise loop in the air followed by a charge on the ground to take out the 8 Eskimos. Then it's a simple jaunt through each of the 8 gates, the last couple appearing as you exit the building. Hit a couple of ice skaters, then a couple of sea dwellers, followed by 2 more ice skaters, 2 monsters, another skater, then the remaining monsters before the final 3 skaters for Slideway, a fun and easy trial. I had a fly around before spotting this suspicious igloo. Surprise, or not, Hunter's inside with our orb challenge. The paragliding minigame isn't as bad as it looks, since most of the rings are at either the extreme left or right of the rope. With all 50 rings entered, we grab the Speedway's orb and 100% Icy Speedway. Our final stage of Autumn Plains is Magma Cone. This time the Fawn party has been cancelled, so it's time for more Earthshaper whooping with a little help from our new friends. A few more creative deaths, and after climbing the central tower, take a hop to the right for Secret of Magma Cone and a few extra lives. Moments later, a quick payment of 200 gems for the elevator and we get top or bottom. We ride the elevator to discover a giant crater with a central volcano. We make our way up the central climb, avoiding the falling rocks as we go, and when we reach the top, we close the lid to receive the stage's talisman from Bippo. A short glide away and Cheddar tasks us with shooting down the lava monsters. Because there's no time limit, it's actually way easier than the difficulty 5 suggests. Just gulp the volcanic nuggets and fire them at each monster. Gobbling this stuff up, I guess Spyro's no stranger to a Vindaloo. Who'd have thought it? Another Orbis payment. Back outside, I spot this cheeky hidden area I somehow missed. Glide to the ladder for a few bonus gems and drop into a cave below. At this point, I'm convinced Hunter's stalking us. He's already down here. No warning, no explanation, just immediately challenges us to a minigame. We're racing to grab more crystals than him. The first round's a breeze and bags us an orb, but round 2's where it gets serious. The best strategy? Swipe crystals from under his nose to throw him off. And with a final swoop, 100% Magma Cone is ours. With all 14 talismans, we're ready for for Gulp. Somehow this ended up being the hardest achievement in the game. Nearly 45 minutes of my life evaporated in pursuit of the skill point and that cursed perfection. We also need to hit Ripto from his throne, which only happens once Gulp's taken a few hits and the pterodactyls start dropping rockets. Then it's just a case of aiming a little low and blasting him right in the crown jewels for the skill point. Gulp himself has a hefty health bar and there's a lot going on. We use exploding barrels, bombs and rockets to chip him down while he retaliates with laser balls that require charging and flame balls that force us to thread the needle. Later on, Gulp starts lunging to squash Spyro, so more charging is needed to avoid getting pancaked. If he swallows a barrel, it's time for a swift jump to avoid splash damage. The final stretch drags a bit, not because it's wildly difficult, but because the fight just keeps going. Speaking of just keeping going, I perfected the entire fight to be hit just as I took out Gulp, scoring me 100% Gulp's Overlook, but making me do the entire fight perfect over again. Ugh. With a final, dangerously close charge, we finally unlock Bested Gulp for blasting him straight into the history books. As we move ever closer to the end credits, we reach our final hub world with Winter Tundra. Moneybags is waiting to shaft us, though given our 1000 gems unlock the head bash and best ground pound ever, I'll let him off this time. We make quick work of the boulders outside the main entrance as well as this new type of gem crate. We can work our way along the fort walls for another orb and more gems, and down some steps takes us to an underwater cavern with an orb just out of reach and a final payment to Moneybags for Portal Canyon. That last elusive orb is accessed by following the waterfall off the fort wall and diving down for the final orb here and 100% Winter Tundra. It's pathological completion time again as we backtrack to clean up now that the head bash is finally unlocked. First up, we're back in Fracture Hills, but before we can take on Hunter's quest, we have to help the alchemist again just to unlock it. It's collaboration time. Hunter fires off his arrows while we head bash the stunned Earthshapers into gravel. Teamwork makes the dream work. And 100% Fracture Hills is ours. In Shady Oasis, we have 20 gems and an orb to round up. Beneath the exit, we head bash for the gems, then speak to Grundy before head bashing his sinking mates, who are seconds away from being boiled alive like some poor lobster. 8 friends rescued, 100% Shady Oasis. OCD, endorphins released, and back at Winter Tundra, we begin with Mystic Marsh. Our job here is to restart the magic fountain, which equates to more gems and more kills. You know, like every other stage. When we're done wiping out every whiff of life on the ground floor, we cross the bridge to take the whirlwind up top. More gems and the remainder of local life extinguished, and we've racked up enough fatalities to access the upper levels of the marsh. Basil the Explorer is this stage's first helpless NPC, and it's our job to get back his stolen spark plugs from the local thieves. They follow a predetermined path, but they are a bit of a pain as their routes involve lots of jumps and glides, but eventually we manage to catch up with all 4, granting our first orb of the area. No more talismans to collect, so Snoozle the Water Wizard gives us an orb just for waking him. Our final fetch quest comes from the professor who's tucked away in a hidden area on the far side of the river. He's lost his pencil. Don't they have stationery shops in Avalar? So it's our job to scour the entire stage playing magical swapsies. It begins with an egg we launch into a nest which grants a seed we plant in the nearby pot. The duck at the end of the river coughs up a turnip which we fire into the pot just inside the cave, giving us a coin. We toss the coin into the fountain and thank the dragon gods, out pops a pencil. The pencil becomes an orb and 100% Mystic Marsh is the prize for completing Avalar's most needlessly complicated trading game. I bet it's a 10-piece Stidler too. Cheers, Professor. Our final speedway is of the canyon variety and we have 1 minute 10 for our second to last skill point. I got this on my second try, so don't worry, it isn't tough. Focus on the rams first, nabbing a couple of bikers along the way. Follow the rings through the tunnel and make a U-turn and climb sharply. Head clockwise to fly against the birds, flaming as you go, and take note of the small entrance here too. That's for the orb challenge shortly. All that's left is charging against the bikers, and Canyonway is ours without much fuss. Oh look, it's Hunter again. Must be a coincidence. At least this challenge is easily bested. It's a rail shooter, so take aim for the balloons and don't worry about the steering. 100% Canyon Speedway in the bag and we barely broke a sweat. Cloud Temple starts with Alaric requesting his wand back. This stage is littered with petrified enemies coming back to life. Once the wands are returned to their rightful owners, the path is helpfully cleared. A little way in, we're tasked with stalking Agent Zero, so we channel our inner hunter, hiding behind trees and creeping just out of sight. When we finally sneak into his secret base, he doesn't freak out out or call security. He just hands over an orb instead of a restraining order. Bartle gifts us an orb for reaching the stage's end, and with enough kills we activate the superpower and help Mergen ring the bells. This involves freezing trolls to use them as platforms and climb the bell towers. Easier said than done. You've got to be quick before they thaw out and shake you off mid-jump. There are 3 bells to ring, and the last area has a rocket that needs gliding to. With that dealt with, the final bell is a bit of a nightmare. After 2 clean hops, you need to freeze the last 2 trolls in rapid succession before the power-up runs out. Just in time, we nab the final orb, then head to the exploded crate for the final gems and 100% cloud temples. We've just 2 main stages left, and it's off to Robotica Farms. Farmer Greenbeans put us on pest control duty, so we need to get the giant bug lamp powered up. This one's all seesaws, windmills, and relentless insect extermination. Our first orb challenge is a minor outbreak near the scarecrows. Just climb the mounds and flame the pests as you close in. 4 bugs torched, and the orb is ours. Reaching Farmer John is enough to ignite the light and grant us our second orb. The stage's curtain call comes via barleycorn and a supercharge course. On the way there's a surprisingly tricky reinforced gem crate to destroy, as you can see from my lucky zigzag fall here. A few more giant pumpkins splattered, and with the last one down, the path is clear and the final orb is pocketed. Regrettably, I was 5 gems shy of completion, and so began a hunt that both started and ended quickly with 100% Robotica Farms the prize. All that's left between us and the mastery is Metropolis, Ripto, and the end game. Metropolis feels like a beta test for Ratchet and Clank, mildly futuristic and filled to the brim with gentle drama. A series to come on the channel soon perhaps. A short trek into the stage and climbing this suspended ladder leads us to a logistics droid and another achievement challenge. We have to finish off the Ox without getting hit ourselves, which sounds tricky given we're on ice, until you realise you can just ignore the outer bombs and bat the central ones back at it. With the life leaving the poor Ox's body, Ox bombing challenge is ours, and we bid farewell with minimal remorse. The latter stretches are a gauntlet of exploding cows and pigs, with Inventor Droid rewarding us with another orb. She also gives us our final challenge, this time taking down the sheep saucers. As a raging vegetarian, I'm starting to question everything, but we gleefully oblige anyway. The first round ends almost before it starts, earning us a 3rd orb for the stage, but there's still one last wave with 5 more sheep to deal with. A 4th orb for our troubles, and with it the final orb of the game. All that remains is a healthy pillaging of the local wealth and a quick whip through the power-up gate, down the nearby elevator and back up to the reinforced crate to score 100% Metropolis. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. When I hit 5,000, I'm doing every Spyro Game Boy Advance game in a giant blowout. Also, feel free to hype this video. Us small channels really need it. 4 achievements left, and it's time for Ripto, who surprisingly is much easier than Gulp. It's a 3-stage fight, and we'll need to get through it without taking a hit for the final skill point. Stage 1 is laughably easy. Just flame Ripto whenever he moves towards a power-up and you'll keep him helpless. Once we grab 3 ourselves, we get a brief supercharge window where we can unload on him. Don't hold back, spam those attacks while it lasts. Be sure to charge out of the way of any stray fireballs before toasting him. Round 2 is against Metal Gulp and easily the hardest phase. The flame balls are the real hazard here, so charge wide and keep your distance before nabbing the orbs right from under his nose. With Gulp down, it's time to take to the skies for phase 3. Keep swerving to dodge the admittedly easy projectiles and spam your attacks, aiming just ahead since the shots move slowly. Honestly, after Gulp this phase is a breeze, and with the final hit we unlock Master of Skill points for earning all 16, followed by 100% Ripto's Arena and bested Ripto, Gulp and Pterodactyl for finishing the fight untouched.
I don't think we can ever thank you enough, Spyro.
I've still got a vacation to take.
And on that note, it's time for our final achievement, a stress-free diversion to round out the set. Dragon Shores is a fairground packed with mini-games, and we need to collect 10 tokens. 3 of them come from popping balloons on the roller coaster. Next up is a shooting gallery, which I genuinely found a joy. We can earn 3 more tokens here, 1 for each successive round. Then there's a charming little ride for another token. Just hop on, watch and enjoy, and take your payout on the way out. The last 3 tokens are easy. Just aim at the target and dunk the enemies into the water.
This is pretty easy, isn't it?
It is, but a fitting end to one of the best platformers ever made. And with that last token, I want to visit Theatres is Ours. Spyro 2 is mastered! What a journey! Game hard, save often.